Wait, how do I start this? Oh, do I say
Hi, I'm Allison.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Allison.
Hi, I'm Jafeth.
And this is Existing. Today we're going to be talking about generational differences.
Yeah, so for those of y'all that don't know what that is, it's basically just like we're going into detail about baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, those kinds of things, and just seeing their differences and trying to explain why they are the way they are.
I don't know how else to describe this because like each generation kind of has defining characteristics and like defining events that make them who they are. So we wanted to examine this. That sounds boring. We're going to talk about it, basically.
Yeah. Before we start, we also wanted to like make it clear that Allison and I understand that these generations are also just very like Western. So they only adhere mostly to like Western countries like the US and Western Europe mainly.
Yeah.
So this isn't accurate to like Latin American countries or Asia or Africa.
It's very, very US centered because some of the generations are defined by like whether they can remember what they were doing on 9/11. Yeah, it's very US centric. We didn't write the descriptions for these, so we're just working with what we got. Okay, so to start, who are we? What generation are we, Jafeth?
Well, I guess it's not really clear yet. Some websites...
Actually, this is actually a loaded question. Actually, I asked this thinking it's going to be like an easy starter question.
If some websites say that, like, yeah, we're 20 and we were both born in 99. Like, some websites say we're Gen Z and others say we're millennials because on some websites the cutoff for Gen Z or the cutoff for millennials is 2000. And on other websites it says 1997. So...
we're kind of in the middle, like a cusp date, you know? So Gen Z, as Jafeth said, like it's not really clear when the cutoff dates are, but Gen Zs are also known as like the, I guess, for iPhone generation because they kind of grew up on smartphones, or at least they grew up on cell phones. That's so weird. It says they are regarded as more cynical than their predecessors, favoring a realistic outlook over the idealism of Gen Y, which is millennials. But at the same time, I feel like right now with what we're seeing, it's like Gen Z is the future. They're the ones who are going to make a change. So I don't know how much that description is accurate. But basically, they're the social media generation.
Yeah, also, we're just looking at some, like...
oh, yeah, we're looking at a random website.
Yeah, we're not... this isn't, like, 100%.
This is not, like, an exact science, yeah.
This is more just, like, looking at generalizations. Next, we'll go on to millennials, or Generation Y also, but... most widely known as millennials. Yeah. So currently millennials are concerned with ethics and social responsibility of the organization they work for. And then they also or another defining characteristic, something that separates them from like Gen Z, is that while Gen Z like grew up with technology, millennials they like were eased into it.
I think millennials is the one where like millennials and everyone before, they can remember they were doing on 9/11. Like that was that one. Do you remember what you were doing on 9/11?
Girl, probably shitting my pants or something. I don't know. I was literally less than a year old.
It was my first birthday.
What were you doing, Miss Allison?
It was my first birthday. Now you'll know my birthday.
Yeah, Allison was born September 11th, 1999.
Thank you for saying that to everyone on the internet.
Quick, what's your social security? Yeah, that's basically millennials.
Yeah, like, millennials are the like, let's get brunch and mimosas and avocado toast. Those ones. So Gen Z, sorry, not Gen Z. Gen X. Gen X are our parents' generation, is our parents' generation, and...
Gen X was like the one that was most impacted by like the financial crisis in 2008.
Yeah. Too. And then apparently they're also the ones with the most credit card debt. Like millennials, their financial struggle is student loan debt, and then Gen X is credit card debt. And then I'm pretty sure it said like they were less cynical, but they're like more straightforward than baby boomers, who are their predecessors.
And speaking of our faves, the baby boomers, they are like basically the grandparents to anyone our age. But yeah, they basically got to pay for college with a part-time job.
Yep, and that's But basically,
that's it.
they're called baby boomers because they were like the product of the soldiers that came home from World War II, and they just started making babies, and there was a baby boom. So therefore, they are baby boomers, and they were the ones who took part in like counterculture, like during the Vietnam War, which is really interesting because they're also like known to be very conservative today. You know, the like okay boomer thing, and then also like logically, baby boomers are the least tech savvy of all generations.
Wait, oh my gosh, wait, when was like internet a thing? Sorry, not to sound like a really young dumb person. Allison and I were talking about this like I don't know how long ago, but my parents are from Mexico, like they grew up in Mexico, and my mom says that she remembers not having a fridge.
Whoa.
So she had to like store her stuff like in the ground underwater to keep it cool and stuff. So like her family would like salt all the meat when they like killed the cow, and then like they would like put it in water and stuff. And I was like, wait, I'm pretty sure in the US like fridges were like a common household appliance by that time.
My parents had fridges.
Yeah. So like that's why I'm like, oh, it's interesting because in my head I was like, that's weird.
So I looked it up. The internet was invented in 1983. So yeah.
Whoa. So baby boomers literally didn't have internet. Like they
had nothing.
I'm like realizing
we
how
sound
like
really dumb right now. I'm so sorry. I remember when the iPhone came out, like the first iPhone. I think because of that, like we're just hag Gen X. Because like we were kids when the iPhone came out, but it's not like we grew up using it.
Even, and it's so funny because I remember when I got my first phone and it was in middle school, but like nobody really had a phone at the time either. Like having a phone was like a rare thing.
I got mine late.
Really? When'd you get yours?
Middle school, like 7th grade. But I got like a slidey Pantech. But I remember in like 3rd grade, the most popular girl in school had an iPhone. And at that moment, I was like, okay, the classes have been formed.
I can't believe this neoliberalist capital. No, okay, speaking of neoliberalism.
Yes.
Back to like the baby boomers. Baby boomers were the ones that like started and participated. Not all of them, obviously, but like that was the generation that kind of started the counterculture movement, and that was very anti-war, basically very anti-neoliberalist, like what was going on, like U.S. intervention in other countries. And it's so funny because if you like take a look at it like nowadays, like Gen Z is like really against baby boomer like ideology, as you can tell by like the okay boomer and like so it's just very interesting because there are like these ideological parallels between like boomers and Gen Z, but
like they're not like that anymore. Like when baby boomers were our age, they were like us in a lot of ways, but then now they're the complete opposite. So does that mean we're going to turn out like that? I don't think so though. I mean, that's really biased, but I feel like because we have the example of the baby boomers, we would be more cognizant of like that digression into like conservative. I cannot speak today. This is one of those days. Hey,
y'all, we haven't been in school for months now, so
our brains are turning to mush. Like,
honestly.
There's a reason why that last episode was the relationships episode and not something intellectual. Our brains are smooth.
We're really trying right now.
Yeah, we're really cranking this one out. Okay, let's talk about millennials. Let's roast a few millennials.
Miss Allison's got a lot to say.
Because, like, I thought I was a millennial throughout high school because Gen Z wasn't a word that was, or a term that was used when we were growing up. However, after interacting and meeting a lot of millennials, I realized that we are definitely closer to Gen Z because, you know, all of those memes that were made before, like, oh, all millennials care about is brunch and avocado toast. Like, they're killing the diamond industry or something, like, you know, something dumb like that. But to an extent, those stereotypes are true because the people that I interacted with, they would use slang that I feel like they thought was current, you know, hip,
like
trendy.
YOLO.
So, yeah, okay, but they would, oh God, like they would, I don't even remember because I try to wipe it out of my memory, but they would shorten words in a way where it wasn't funny or cute. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, like instead of kombucha, they would say Booch. Like that energy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Booch, that has a different meaning on gay Twitter, let me tell y'all.
But they would say that, and they would also say like, oh, I'm a dog parent, or like I'm a dog mom. Like when they would ask like, are there any parents, they'd be like, I'm a dog mom. And no disrespect to the dog parents, but that's a very different thing.
They're like the live, laugh, love generation is what I imagine.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like, unironically. Yeah, a lot of the stereotypes of millennials are true. And it's so funny because I also, like Allison, I also in high school thought that I was a millennial just because there was no term for, like, there was no cutoff made, and there was no term for anything after a millennial at the time. So I was also like, oh, okay, I'm a millennial. And then I found out that my sister's a millennial, and me and my sister are about 8 years apart. And I'm like, me and my sister are so different. Like, we're not, like, I do not identify with her way of being. So I was like, oh, I can't possibly be a millennial. And then I, like, met other people that were also, like, millennial age, and I was like, dang. And then I found out, like, a couple weeks ago, like, someone, like, millennials now are like age 35 or something, and I was like, oh, that's a lot older than what I would have high school me imagined a millennial would be.
In high school, our math teacher was like, I'm a millennial, you guys. And we're like, we're us together, because she was, I'm pretty sure, like in her early 30s, and we're like, we cannot be in the same generation. That's why she was like, I feel like you guys aren't millennials. And they're like, what are we then? She was like, I have no idea, but there's no way we're both millennials. And then we're like, no, you're not a millennial. She's like, I am a millennial. Like, we were trying to kick her out of the millennial category, but we shouldn't have been in there.
Damn. No, yeah, it's like really funny, because then it's also like, I don't know when the Gen Z cutoff is. I thought it was 2005, but on some websites it says 2012.
Yeah, 2012, 2015, but it's like, what do we have in common with a 5-year-old?
And that's why we were also like, oh, we're probably just like really old Gen Z people, but like, it was weird because I feel like our childhood was very millennial-like, but like our teen years and afterwards are very Gen Z. Because like,
I agree.
We both grew up with like a home computer.
CDs and DVDs.
Oh, CDs and DVDs,
that was definitely a thing.
But like one of my cousin's kids, so like, I don't know what that would be to me. I just call her my cousin for some reason. That's weird now that I think about it.
Kind of, yeah.
You know, those Mexican families. But she grew up, she was literally like 2 and had an iPad. And I was like, oh, she already knows how to use that, but she doesn't even know how to talk. So, like, not to be a boomer, sorry, but, like, that's crazy. That's insane. Like, what the heck? Not that it's bad, I think.
Because, like, the standards...
I don't know what my stance is on technology.
I don't know, because, like, the standards of now, that's not crazy, because it's... Yeah. That's not that wild. It'd be a concern if, like, that's all the kid did. Like, they didn't do offline, like, non-screen related activities. Then that would be kind of concerning.
Between, like, I feel like 97 and, like, 2000 or 2001 or something, like, that's, like, a weird time, because a lot happened between that where it didn't really, because it was a lot easier, like, baby boomer to like Gen X, I feel, because like you also didn't really have like technology at play as much as it does now, or like technology didn't advance as fast.
Yeah, technology kind of shifted everything, like not even just on a personal scale, like globally. Anyways, millennials, let's go back in on millennials. Let's get into the politics of it. Just to remind you, once again, we're poli-sci students. So
we got a lot to say.
To be honest, the image that millennials give off, I told this to Jafeth before, but it's very much the socially liberal, economically conservative bullshit. That's not... Okay, if you didn't know that doesn't work, it doesn't work. Because all your economic beliefs will translate into social, like, tangible realities. So you cannot be conservative and expect that to not have an effect on like people in that way.
Yeah, like they both go hand in hand.
Yeah, you
like
cannot
they're
separate
literally
them.
One and the same. To me, it's very like millennials are that, but also in the way, because I remember when I was like in high school, it was like before Gen Z was a thing, people would say like, oh, millennials are gonna change blah blah blah. Because you know how, like, now it's like, oh, Gen Z is going to be the one to do it? Like, that's what they said about millennials. Yeah. So, to me, the way I see it, and to some extent, it's not, like, millennials' fault, I guess. But it's, like, millennials give off the vibe that it's, like, we're just going to complain but not really do anything about it. Like, to me, that's kind of, like, who they are, like, their political presence. Yeah. As opposed to, like, Gen Z, where it's, like...
Who cares? Let's just do it.
We want to do something. Yeah. But, like, we can't because we're too young. Type of thing. Like, I remember being, like, 16 or 17.
Like, not being able to vote in the 2016 election was so freaking annoying because we were like 17 or 16 at the time, and like we were online enough to know what was going on. Like, I feel like I was very politically aware of like the situation, but not being able to vote was super annoying. But then seeing all these other older people not vote, that was even more infuriating.
Some people like want to vote, but they literally like they're stopped by the state. Like, there are policies in place that kind of make it harder, or like you know,
like incarcerated people cannot vote.
That's like a whole nother thing.
That's a whole other thing. But let's bring it back to millennials, right? Generational stuff, because like I feel like, God, we're just like really shitting on millennials, but this is what we've observed. Like, millennials, I feel like they're the kind of generation, this is really putting everyone into one bucket, but like they're the kind of people that I feel like, you know, like for Pride Month, they'll be the ones, like if they're running the company, they'll change their logos to rainbow and they'll be like, woo, but they won't change any of the policies in their company that are like hurting LGBT workers. And then right after July, they'll just shut up about LGBT rights.
They'll be like, we got our money, let's go.
Like, if you're not really about it, shut up.
Yeah, like millennials are like very performative.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. I feel like they're super performative.
Yeah. And obviously, like Allison said, we're putting everyone into one big box. So like, we're not saying like literally all millennials are, but like,
of course,
from our experiences and the people that we've seen, like,
this is what's
it
happening.
Just gives off that vibe type of thing.
But to be fair, compared to like Gen X or baby boomers, millennials and like this kind of activism in quotes would be considered more progressive, but they're super like, you know, modern day textbook Democrats, like Hillary Clinton stands.
We also, Allison and I also found this other website that talks about like millennial characteristics, or like their traits and stuff. And one of them that I saw that's funny is millennials are flexible, and then the first sentence is like, millennials basically like flexible working arrangements over a stable 9 to 5, which is like, I don't know what they say about Gen Z, because like obviously this is a millennials, but like in my head, putting myself in a millennial shoe, it's like, I feel like I would definitely value a stable 9 to 5 over flexible arrangement. Like, I'd love to be guaranteed a job working 8 hours a day for a wage that I know is gonna like pay for stuff.
Wait, okay, you just said that and I just immediately thought like, okay, flexible working hours can usually mean part-time, like a part-time job, right? And then this implies like, oh, they're saying millennials prefer these flexible working schedules compared to a 9 to 5. But are we considering the fact that maybe they don't have access to these 9 to 5 jobs? Like, these are hard jobs to get, because like for these types of professional 9 to 5 jobs, you probably need connections. They also said millennials are the most diverse generation. I mean, I don't know if they're considering Gen Z, but if they're diverse, that means you have a lot of like people of color here, and people of color are like known to not be as well connected in the professional world as like white people are. So I'm just saying, that statement that this article is saying, that doesn't really make sense. Like, oh, they like part-time, or can they just not have access, or are they not having access to these 9 to 5 jobs?
This Lucky Attitude publication is probably they're also from the UK. I see .co.uk, so they're like, I don't know, maybe UK millennials are like different.
We're not trying to roast you, we're just
because the idea that they value it is like, maybe they were like coerced into liking it, or like they have no other options in this gig economy that we've inherited. But 9 to 5 jobs are just very hard to come by.
I think it's also funny, like Gen Z is like the one creating all the weird obscure memes. I don't know if this is a thing, but my parents really like stand-up comedy, and I don't know if that's a Gen X thing, like an age thing.
I hate stand-up.
I hate stand-up too.
It's so like, to me, I get secondhand embarrassment, because it's like, if they don't laugh, then you're just like, ugh. But even when people laugh, I'm like, that wasn't that funny, to be honest.
Because and then it's also like, you watch it expecting like, I'm gonna find this funny, I'm gonna laugh, and then you sit through all of it. I watched, oh god, John Mulaney, is that his name? Because everyone really likes John Mulaney. So I tried watching his Netflix specials. Like, I watched 3 of them. I don't know if there is only 3 of them, but I watched 3 of them, and I did not laugh once. Stand-up comedy, I don't know. I've watched a lot of it, but I don't find it funny. Like, for me, it's like memes or like TV shows that will be funny.
Yeah. Also, kind of like getting on like the humor and like what we find funny, sarcastic humor.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that defines like, and it's so funny because that is a purely American thing.
Yeah.
Like, nowhere else is sarcasm understandable. I don't know why I started like focusing more on like that. Like, there was a time where I was like, wait, humor in different languages is so interesting. Because like when I talk to like my friends or like anyone who I speak English to, like I have this like sarcastic type of like way of saying things. But when I speak Spanish, sarcasm never really comes up. Like, I don't ever say anything sarcastically and expect someone to find it funny. Because I feel like someone might not understand that it's sarcasm. And it's funny because, like, I did that, like, I did that subconsciously, basically. Like, I wasn't aware that I was not being sarcastic in Spanish because people wouldn't understand it. Oh, let's shit on Gen Z, because Gen Z honestly has done some dumb shit too.
Okay, to be honest, the most annoying Gen Z people are the straight TikTokers.
Oh, yes.
You gasped, but I know I'm right. I don't know who Addison Rae is. Like, apparently she's the biggest TikToker, but I've never seen a single video of hers.
Wait, yeah.
Not to say that she is the most annoying, because I literally don't know, but that was a side note. But, ooh, straight TikTokers. Can they stop?
Like, straight men specifically.
Oh,
like,
straight men TikTokers.
I honestly, I don't know if, like, there's, like, girls or, like, straight women on straight TikTok. Because, like, I've never seen any, like, anything that I could equate straight guy TikTok to, like, straight girl TikTok. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because defining features for, like, hetero men TikTok is, like, they're shirtless, they're looking at the camera, they're doing some
weird
like,
dance move.
Dance where they're, like, grinding in the air or something. Yeah, that. So it's, like, I see that, but I've never actually, like,
oh my God, I agree.
seen straight girl TikTok, if that's a thing. Oh my God, speaking of, millennials are the quirky ones. They're the ones that think they're quirky. Sorry, I just had to put that in there.
Like New Girl. They're New Girl.
Yeah, they're literally Jess. Okay,
there we go. Anyway, so we cleared that up.
Yeah,
Gen Z, okay, yeah, they have the largest social media presence, but their social media presence is one of the most annoying ones. Number one, I feel like, is, of course, like baby boomers and Gen X. But Gen Z also is pretty annoying for their own reasons, because, well, first of all, they're mostly kids. Like, a lot of them are children, so...
I mean, other than that, political presence-wise, Gen Z is by far my favorite. Like, they're really just, like, out there.
Same. It's just they can't vote. Yeah.
That's why I think we should have a cutoff age at which people can vote, and then we should lower the voting age. Old people should not be able to vote.
Lowering the voting age kind of makes sense because now we have access to more information, and you're seeing a lot more teenagers become more politically aware and involved, even though they can't vote. Like, they shouldn't be politically active, but they are. So therefore, I think they should have voting rights. How young we should go, I don't know.
Yeah,
16,
I mean,
17?
I want to say 16.
I want to say 16.
Because, like, at that age is when I basically, like, started having a basic understanding of, like, obviously I didn't know, like, every single nuance, but, like, you're capable of having a basic understanding of, like, how politics work.
Yeah, and if you asked me who I would have voted for and why, I would have had, like, a coherent answer. Not just because, like, I think they're Democrat, let me vote for them. Like, no, I would tell you, like, why.
And this is a flaw in, like, the school system, too. Like, there's not really that much emphasis on learning about American politics. Like, if you learn American politics, it's the history or, like, historical politics. And it's, like, presidencies that, like, happened a long time ago and stuff. And it's like, for why?
Yeah, it's like, oh, this happened in the past, but they don't really emphasize, like, how these things in the past are affecting us now.
Yeah.
But I guess from, like, a teacher standpoint, if they were to do that, like, first of all, they can't create, like, a broad curriculum for everyone to teach in that amount of time with, like, all this recent news. And then on top of that, the teachers will probably be biased when teaching about those recent events. Because I know my high school teachers were very obvious in where they stood. Like, they weren't supposed to, but you could tell.
Yeah. But I mean, even from, like, the textbooks that we read, things are biased.
Of course,
so, like, to me, it's, like, there's...
the same thing.
I think it's, like, by a certain time, you should be able to understand, like, oh, what I learned may be biased. Or, like, take it with a grain of salt.
That literally reminded me, like, the way that they taught us about, like, imperialism they taught us that in AP world history, but they taught it very in a neutral manner. Like they didn't really emphasize how crappy and destructive those things were. They were just like, this is what it was. And not until once you really think about it after, like, oh, these things devastated populations of people and like civilizations. But they're just like, oh, this was an economic practice.
Yeah, like they literally just talk about like how it got the imperial power money. Or they were like, it was good because like they got a lot of gold out of it, or they got a lot of money, or now they have like somewhere to trade. And I'm like, that's cool. And like it's like you learn and you're like, that's good. But then you like think about how they did that, and then how the things they did, the imperial power did, like still keep that country in like the situation they are now.
And on that happy note, that happy apolitical note, this is the end of episode 5 of Existing.
Woohoo!
You do that.
Wait, I literally did that the last episode.
You do that in like almost every episode. The woohoo.
Oh, really? Wait, take that out.
No, I'm gonna keep it. It's funny. I'm gonna keep all of this. We upload every Monday at 11 p.m. on YouTube and on Spotify. This will be the second to last episode on Spotify. And then after that, we'll just be on YouTube. Jafeth, where can they find us?
You can find us. I live in Southern California. I'm just kidding.
What?
You can find us on Instagram at Existing Podcast for little updates about what we're doing, as well as updates on the podcast itself. So please feel free to go follow and interact with us. It's fun to see comments and stuff.
We have comments?
We have comments on.
They're on, but are they...
I think that'll conclude this episode.
We'll see you in the next one. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.